We are seeing the fatal Minneapolis shooting from the ICE officer's point of view, footage taken on his own cell phone. It's a critical angle of many cameras on this street that captured Renee Good's fatal encounter with ICE agent Jonathan Ross. Using surveillance footage, bystander video, and Ross's own phone, CNN synced multiple perspectives of the shooting and mapped this incident in 3D space. Taken together, they show the fullest picture yet of what happened that day. A home surveillance camera captures the moment Renee Good pulls up in a maroon-colored Honda SUV 4 minutes before the shooting. 20 seconds after she arrives, her passenger and wife, Becca, wearing a white beanie, gets out of Good's car. Good then parks the SUV perpendicular in the road. Here's how Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem described what Good did.
ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day.
Available video doesn't show any possible contact Good may have had with ICE before this confrontation. What this video does show is that for a few minutes, while she is perpendicular to the roadway, several vehicles drive by. Even large SUVs are able to drive around her as she moves back and forth on the street. And that includes this light-colored SUV. It slowly drives around Good's car from the rear and stops. Agent Jonathan Ross is recording video from his cell phone as he crosses in front of Good's car, recording as he sees her up close. She looks calm, and you can see both of her hands as she talks to the officer.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
Renee Good's wife, Becca, who had been the passenger in the car, approaches. Cell phone cameras on the street start recording as Ross walks around Good's car with Good's wife following.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Renee Good backs her car up as the agent walks around the front of the vehicle. At the same time, on the other side, 2 more agents approach. One tries to open the door as Good backs up. Good's vehicle starts moving. From Ross's cell phone video, you see Becca, the woman in the white beanie, trying to get into the car again. You also see Renee Good turning the steering wheel to the right.
Get out of the car.
She then accelerates, slowing this down again and matching the exact time of these 2 angles. This angle appears to show the vehicle moving close to the agent. But in this angle, he does not appear to be in the path of the vehicle when he fired.
Shame! Oh my God! What the
Seconds later, Becca Good runs to her wife, followed by the agent who fired his weapon. He briefly looks into the driver's side of the car and then walks away.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
An ICE agent filmed himself on his personal cell phone as he shot Renee Nicole Good. The 48-second video was just released, and it raises one enormous question. If he was really afraid for his life, why was he filming? Here's what the video shows, and what experts say it proves. The agent is Jonathan Ross, 43 years old, Iraq War veteran, 20 years of combined experience with Border Patrol and ICE. This is not some rookie who panicked. This is a veteran federal agent who should know use of force protocols inside and out. And Ross filmed the entire encounter on his personal cell phone. The 48-second video was obtained by Alpha News and released Friday. What it shows is devastating. Ross is holding his phone in one hand while shooting with the other. He's filming as he approaches Good's vehicle. He's filming as he walks in front of her car. He's filming as he pulls the trigger. And he's filming as he walks away after the shooting. Let's talk about what Renee Good was doing in those final moments. The video shows her appearing calm. Both hands are visible inside the vehicle. And she says, quote, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." End quote. That's what she said moments before Ross shot her. Calm, cooperative, explicitly de-escalating. Quote, "I'm not mad at you." End quote. Now, the Department of Homeland Security has been claiming this was self-defense. They've said Ross feared for his life. They've said Good tried to run him over with her vehicle. They've said she was blocking ICE operations and posed an imminent threat. But Ross's own video contradicts every single one of those claims. Jeff Alpert is a criminology professor at the University of South Carolina. He's an expert on police use of force. And here's what he said about the video. Quote, "Now that we can see he's holding a gun in one hand and a cell phone in the other filming. I want to see the officer training that permits that." End quote. That's a rhetorical question. There is no training that permits one-handed shooting while filming on your cell phone. Because if you actually believed someone was a threat to your life, you wouldn't have one hand on a cell phone. You'd have both hands on your weapon. You'd be taking cover. You'd be creating distance. You would not be casually filming. John P. Gross is a law professor at the University of Wisconsin who specializes in self-defense doctrine. And he put it even more bluntly. Quote, "If you are an officer who views this woman as a threat, you don't have one hand on a cell phone. You don't walk around this supposed weapon casually filming." End quote. Walk around the supposed weapon. That's what Ross did. He positioned himself in front of Good's vehicle while still filming. If he genuinely believed that vehicle was about to be used as a weapon against him, why would he walk in front of it? The answer is clear from his actions. His behavior shows someone who did not perceive Good as a threat. One hand on his phone, walking casually, approaching the vehicle, positioning himself in front of it, and then shooting her anyway. Now, CNN did something interesting. They created a 3D model using all available footage from the scene, multiple camera angles, multiple witness videos, and that 3D analysis systematically destroys every claim the Department of Homeland Security has made. DHS claimed Good was blocking ICE agents, that her vehicle prevented them from leaving or maneuvering. The CNN 3D model shows that's false. Multiple cars drove around Good's SUV before the shooting, including Ross's own vehicle. He himself had driven around her car earlier. The path was clear. There was no blockage. Other agents were able to maneuver freely. The blocking claim is provably false. DHS claimed the agent was fearing for his life. The CNN 3D model shows Ross casually filming while approaching Good's vehicle. It shows him walking in front of the car while still holding his phone. It shows him maintaining that casual demeanor even as he shoots. There is no fear evident in his actions, no defensive posture, no attempt to take cover or create distance. Just a man filming himself as he walks up to a vehicle and shoots the driver. And DHS claimed Good tried to run over the agent, that she accelerated toward him, that imminent impact forced him to shoot. The CNN 3D model shows that's false too. The angle captured by Ross's own phone doesn't show any contact. Good appeared to turn her steering wheel away from Ross, not toward him, and there's no evidence of sudden acceleration. Ross positioned himself in front of a stationary vehicle. Good tried to avoid him, and he shot her anyway. So let's be very clear about what we now know. The Department of Homeland Security's self-defense narrative was a lie from the start. It is provably false. Every major claim has been contradicted by Ross's own video and by the comprehensive 3D analysis. The blocking claim, false. The fear claim, false. The attempted runover claim, false. Good's wife, Becca, was also there. She was a passenger in the vehicle and got out to film separately. You can hear her on the video. At one point, she says, quote, "You want to come at us? I say, go get yourself some lunch, big boy." End quote. Defiant, yes, but not threatening. Later, as the situation escalates, she yells, quote, "Drive, baby, drive." End quote. She was telling Renee to leave, to get away from the danger. She saw the threat. The threat was to them, not from them. After the shooting, Ross walked away, still filming, and for 15 minutes, no medical aid was provided to Renee Good. 15 minutes. She later died at the hospital. Becca Good released a statement Friday, and it includes one line that captures the entire injustice. Quote, "We stopped to support our neighbors. We had whistles. They had guns." End quote. Whistles versus guns. That's the asymmetry we're talking about. Renee and Becca Good were there as protesters, as community members supporting their neighbors who were facing ICE enforcement actions. They had whistles, non-violent protest tools. The federal agents had guns, and one of those agents used his gun to shoot an unarmed woman who had explicitly said she wasn't mad at him. Becca also said, Renee, quote, sparkled, end quote, and, quote, was made of sunshine, end quote. She said, quote, I am now left to raise our son and to continue teaching him, as Renee believed, that there are people building a better world for him, end quote. Their son is now growing up without his mother because a federal agent shot her while filming himself on his cell phone. Now let's talk about accountability, because there isn't going to be any. The FBI and Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension initially agreed to conduct a joint investigation, state and federal working together, independent oversight to verify the findings. That's what was announced. But then the FBI revoked the BCA's access to all evidence. Minnesota's public safety commissioner said it would be, quote, extremely difficult, if not impossible, end quote, to continue without federal cooperation. Translation: the state investigation is dead. The federal government is investigating itself, and there will be no independent oversight. Think about what this means. The Department of Homeland Security's agents shot Renee Good, Secretary Kristi Noem's agency, and now the FBI, which also reports to the Trump administration's Department of Justice, is conducting the investigation. Same team, same executive branch, the federal government investigating itself. And they've blocked the one entity that could have provided independent verification. The state of Minnesota wanted to look at the evidence. The FBI said no. They revoked access. They're controlling the narrative. They're controlling the evidence. And they will control the outcome. We've seen this pattern before. Federal agents use force. Federal investigators examine what happened. And federal investigators conclude the force was justified. Every single time. It doesn't matter what the video shows. It doesn't matter what the witnesses say. Historically, the outcome follows the same pattern. And by blocking Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension from accessing the evidence, the FBI has ensured that pattern will continue. An independent state investigation would have been able to pursue state charges against Ross. It would have been able to conduct an independent autopsy. It would have been able to interview witnesses without those interviews being filtered through federal agents. It would have been able to issue a public report. Instead, you're going to get a federal investigation that drags on for months, produces secret findings, and ultimately exonerates Ross. And there's nothing Minnesota can do about it. Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis watched this video or similar footage before it became public. And he said, quote, having seen the video myself, I want to tell everybody directly that is bullshit, end quote. And then he said to ICE, quote, get the fuck out of Minneapolis, end quote. Frey was right. He saw what we can all see now. Ross filming himself, Good saying she's not mad, the casual approach, the positioning in front of the vehicle, the one-handed shooting, and the federal narrative that this was somehow self-defense. Mayor Frey called it bullshit. And now that we've all seen the video, it's hard to argue with his assessment. On Friday, hundreds of people protested outside the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis. That's where ICE's command center is located. Hundreds more marched to downtown hotels where ICE agents have been staying. Schools in Minneapolis extended closures through February 12th, offering online options instead because of safety concerns and ongoing community trauma. In Portland, protests continued. 6 people were arrested Thursday night during demonstrations at the ICE building and City Hall. This is a national movement now. Minneapolis, Portland, Chicago, Los Angeles, Charlotte, cities across the country where people are saying enough. And here's what makes Ross's video so particularly damning. Ross was confident enough to film this entire encounter. An Iraq war veteran with 20 years of federal law enforcement experience who understands qualified immunity and federal jurisdiction. He filmed himself walking up to Renee Good's vehicle. He filmed himself shooting her. He filmed himself walking away. That level of confidence suggests someone who believed there would be no consequences. Someone who thought this footage would support the official narrative rather than contradict it. What Ross apparently didn't anticipate was that his video would go public and be analyzed by experts who would systematically dismantle the self-defense claim. He didn't expect Jeff Alpert to point out that no training permits one-handed filming during lethal force. He didn't expect John P. Gross to highlight the contradiction between his casual behavior and claimed fear. He didn't expect CNN to create a 3D model debunking every federal assertion. His own footage now provides powerful evidence that undermines the entire self-defense narrative. Now let's address what conservatives will say, because they're already saying it. They'll claim the 48-second video doesn't show the full context. That maybe there was a threat earlier, before Ross started filming. But here's the problem with that argument. The video shows the shooting itself. It shows the moment when Ross decided to use lethal force. And at that moment, he was filming with one hand. At that moment, he was walking casually. At that moment, Good was saying she's not mad. The legal standard for self-defense requires a reasonable belief in imminent threat at the moment force is used. Not 5 minutes earlier. Not based on something that might have happened before. At the moment. And the video shows Ross's behavior at the moment was inconsistent with genuine fear for his safety. They'll point out that Becca yelled, quote, "Drive, baby, drive," end quote. And they'll claim that proves Good was trying to flee, which proves guilt. But that's backwards. Becca was telling Renee to drive away after Ross had already approached the vehicle. She was trying to get her wife to safety, to get away from the danger. This wasn't a command to attack. This was a warning to escape. And the direction Good turned her steering wheel, visible in the 3D analysis, shows she was trying to avoid Ross, not hit him. They'll say Ross is a war veteran and trained professional, so if he shot, it must have been justified. But expertise makes his actions more difficult to defend, not easier. A rookie might panic and violate protocols out of fear or inexperience. Ross had 20 years to learn proper procedures. He knew that lethal force requires 2 hands on the weapon. He knew that you don't position yourself in front of a vehicle you claim is a threat. He knew that filming while shooting violates every use of force protocol. Professor Alpert's question stands. Show us the training that permits this. They'll claim Good was at an illegal protest, interfering with ICE operations, and that she bears responsibility for putting herself in that situation. But Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara confirmed Good was not the target of any investigation. She wasn't wanted. She wasn't being arrested. She was a community member exercising her First Amendment right to protest. And even if her presence at the protest were somehow unlawful, which it wasn't, that doesn't justify lethal force. You don't get to shoot someone for standing near an ICE operation with a whistle. And they'll say we need to wait for the FBI investigation to determine what really happened, that we shouldn't rush to judgment, that professionals will review all the evidence and reach the appropriate conclusion. But we don't need to wait to analyze what Ross filmed. We can all watch the video. We can all see him holding his phone in one hand and his gun in the other. We can all hear Good saying, "She's not mad." We can all watch him walk in front of the vehicle and shoot. The evidence is already public. The FBI investigation isn't about finding new facts at this point. It's about reaching conclusions. And by blocking Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension from participating, the FBI has made very clear that independent verification is not welcome. What happens next? In the immediate term, Ross will likely be placed on administrative leave. Not disciplinary, just administrative. He'll keep his salary. He'll be protected by qualified immunity and federal jurisdiction. The FBI investigation will drag on for months. It will produce findings that the public never sees in full. And based on the historical pattern in such cases, Ross will likely be cleared of wrongdoing. That's how this typically goes. Good's family will file a civil lawsuit. They'll sue ICE, Ross, and the federal government. But qualified immunity will likely result in dismissal of claims against Ross personally. There might be a settlement, paid with taxpayer money. Ross won't pay a cent, and the settlement will include no admission of wrongdoing. The federal government will hand Becca Good some money and close the case quietly. In Congress, Representative Cori Bush's impeachment resolution against Secretary Noem already includes an article about violation of public trust. This video strengthens that case. But Republicans control the House. They're not going to hold hearings. They're not going to impeach a Trump cabinet member. The resolution will gain more co-sponsors. It will be used in 2026 midterm campaigns, but it won't result in accountability right now. However, if Democrats win the House in 2026, things could change. The House Oversight Committee could restart the investigation. The Judiciary Committee could hold hearings. Ross could be subpoenaed and forced to testify under oath. His video would be central evidence, and there could be a criminal referral to the Department of Justice, though any action would depend on the makeup of the executive branch at that time. Accountability, if it comes at all, is years away. In the meantime, Renee Good's name will be remembered. Her final words, quote, "I'm not mad at you," end quote, will be remembered. The video Ross filmed will be preserved as evidence in the ongoing debate over federal enforcement authority and accountability. Becca's statement, quote, "We had whistles, they had guns," end quote, will be quoted in protests and speeches and organizing meetings across the country. And their son will grow up knowing his mother was shot by a federal agent while she was exercising her constitutional rights. This is the reality of federal power operating without meaningful oversight. An agent can film himself shooting an unarmed woman who is cooperating and de-escalating. Experts can analyze the video and conclude the behavior is inconsistent with lawful self-defense. A major news network can create a 3D model that systematically debunks every federal claim. The city's mayor can call the official narrative bullshit, and the federal government can still block independent state investigation, control all evidence, and follow the same pattern we've seen in case after case after case. Ross's own cell phone video shows behavior that experts say cannot be reconciled with genuine fear for safety. It shows Good posed no apparent threat. It shows the federal self-defense narrative contradicted by the footage. And it shows what happens when federal agents operate in an environment where accountability is systematically blocked. The FBI's decision to revoke Minnesota's access to evidence ensures this will be investigated solely by the same government that employed the shooter. The video is out there now. Millions of people have seen it. We've all watched Ross walk up to that vehicle with his phone in one hand. We've all heard Renee Good say she's not mad. We've all seen what happened next. The footage raises profound questions about use of force, about federal accountability, about the gap between official narratives and documented reality. Whether those questions will ever be answered by an independent investigation remains to be seen. Becca Good said Renee believed there are people building a better world. That's what she taught their son. And that's what she was doing when Ross shot her. She was supporting her neighbors. She was participating in her community. She was exercising her constitutional rights. She had a whistle. Ross had a gun and a cell phone, and he used both. The gun to shoot her, the phone to film it. That's what the video shows, and that's the evidence we all now have to evaluate for ourselves.
Thanks for spending a few minutes digging into this with me. If you want more grounded, progressive commentary without the outrage bait, subscribe and stick around. Every time you watch, share, and engage, it helps build a community that believes democracy is worth understanding and defending. I'll see you in the next video.